As the stock of Nvidia, perhaps the most important hardware company of our era, finally found its footing after a couple of rough days. Here's a company that makes the best graphics processors for gaming, the data center, machine learning, autonomous cars. In other words, they're riding a host of powerful themes, which is why this stock has been such a stunning performer for the past few years. Get this, Nvidia stock is up 560% over the past 2 years and more than 1,700% over the past 5 years, far more than any FANG stock during that period. But while the company keeps doing amazing things, many of them trumpeted at a fantastic user conference this week, the bears have circled. Yeah, they're talking about autonomously driven pedestrian fatality and over-reliance on the once red-hot, now cooling crypto mining business. I say the stock's recent hammering is an overreaction. These two issues are distractions in the broader, brilliant scheme of things. Let's hear from the man himself, though. Yep, Jensen Huang, the visionary founder, president, and CEO of Nvidia, is on our show tonight. We're going to get a better read of what's happening at his company. Mr. Huang, welcome to Mad Money.
Hey, Jim, it's great to be here.
It is exciting to see you, sir. You are the keeper of one of the best-performing stocks of our era. You've had a big week with the GPU, or Graphics Processing Unit Technology Conference. I listened. I was struck by innovations, healthcare, video games, lifelike architecture, vast amounts of data harnessed to artificial intelligence. What do you think are the driving forces for the next 25 years that you talked about this week?
Wow. Hey, look. You know, we're broadcasting from the middle of GTC. This is They can control themselves. There are 8,500 scientists and AI researchers, roboticists, and they're here this week to learn about the state-of-the-art of GPU computing. Gosh, it was amazing. 8,500 people, 600 different sessions. We saw all kinds of new technologies. And this has turned out to be the Tomorrowland of technology. This is how you see the future.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because we've had people come on our show and say, because of the visionary things that you're doing, literally, they have held back the creation of games, of video games, the fastest growing industry we know, because of your latest chips that are so much more lifelike than the previous generation. Can I tell the difference between simulation and reality now?
Well, you know, computer graphics and video games is the driving force of GPU computing. And this week we announced twice as much performance as we announced just 6 months ago. This is the Volta V100, 32 gigabytes. And along with it, we announced a brand new groundbreaking technology called RTX, the Nvidia RTX. And it's the biggest breakthrough in computer graphics in the last 15 years. It took 10 years to do. And it makes possible, for the very first time, real-time ray tracing and cinematic rendering, like the one that's over my shoulder, Captain Phasma of Star Wars. It's completely done in real time. And so this is going to be a groundbreaking development for computer graphics and video games. Of course, as a driving force of what has now become one of the largest technology industries in the world, GPUs, this is going to propel our next 25 years like you can't believe.
Okay, so this is the reason why Lucasfilms, why Pixar has selected NVIDIA architecture for their renderings?
Yeah, we created this technology. It's called RTX. It's been integrated into tools from all over the world: Adobe, Autodesk, Dassault. It's being used by film studios, Pixar, Weta, game engines, Unreal from Epic, Unity. So you're going to be able to see these beautiful computer graphics generated in all kinds of new industries. The film industry, the rendering industry, generates about 1 billion frames per year, and it takes hours on a supercomputer to render each frame. We can now do this with just a few GPUs, and so we can save the industry just an enormous amount of money and an enormous amount of time. And so for the very first time, we can do this in real time, and you know, everybody here knows the more GPU you buy, the more money you save.
All right, well, Jensen, I love that. It's a theme throughout your speech, but I want to deal with some of both the facts and the misperceptions about your company. First of all, people think you make chips. In reality, platforms, architecture, software, ecosystem. Why are you being pigeonholed as a chip company?
Well, we started out as a chip company. NVIDIA 25 years ago was one of the most exciting PC graphics chip companies. Now, over the years, we reinvented ourselves, so now we're really a GPU computing company, and we can use our GPUs for all kinds of problems. And in fact, over the years, we've also evolved the company to become a systems company. I'm standing in front of a brand new system we call the DGX2. The DGX2 includes 16 of these Volta processors. It's the most powerful supercomputer in one box. This box sitting here next to me replaces 300 servers. 300 servers. That's several $1 million, all shrunk into this one little box for $399,000. We create the processor, the system architecture, all the system software on top of it, and it's designed specifically for AI researchers. As a result of this box, they can now train their machine learning models 500 times faster than just 5 years ago.
And how about heat?
When you think about this box,
how about heat generation?
What's that?
How about heat generation versus the other guys?
Oh my gosh. So 300 servers consume something along the lines of, call it 160,000 watts. 160,000 watts. We reduced all of that to 6,000 watts. We save money, we save power, we save floor space, and just as importantly, we make it incredibly easy for AI researchers to just buy one of these boxes, install it, and start developing their models. In addition to that, we take all of the technology that we've created to this, and we make it available to all of the cloud service providers and all the system makers all over the world. I'm standing in front of IBM and Cisco and Google and Hewlett-Packard, and they're all here to support this conference. They'll make these kind of servers available in the data center, available in the cloud. And so we create the entire system. We make it possible for the entire industry to create these systems. And as a result, AI researchers will be able to access the NVIDIA GPU computing platform wherever they are at all kinds of different price points.
All right, so we just heard some pretty amazing things, some starring trends that are going to be with us for many years. Now, I pick up a piece of research, Tectonic Upside, but is NVIDIA ahead of itself by Jefferies. Here's a piece by Wells Fargo questioning whether the cryptocurrency risks are growing. Here's a piece from JP Morgan saying that it's not possible to maintain the cryptocurrency $250 million run rate, and so therefore we must be concerned about the stock of NVIDIA. What do I say to these people, Jensen?
Well, our core growth drivers come from video games. It comes from professional graphics visualization, like what you see over my shoulder. It comes from our data center business, which is now a multi-billion-dollar business, doubling each year, as well as in several years, our autonomous vehicle business. So those are our primary growth drivers. The reason why cryptocurrency became such a popular thing on top of our GPUs is our GPUs is the world's largest install base of distributed supercomputing. And blockchain requires cryptography and the ability to have a public ledger that is completely immutable, perfectly safe, distributed all over the world. And so our processor serves as the perfect processor to enable this supercomputing capability to be distributed. And that's the reason why it's used. But our growth driver comes from the four areas that we talked about. Cryptocurrency just gave it that extra bit of juice that caused all of our GPUs to be in such great demand. But I think over the long term, cryptocurrency will still be here. But our four growth drivers is what's going to make NVIDIA 10 times larger than we are today.
All right, just want to be sure about this. What you're saying is that even though a lot of these people are hung up on cryptocurrency, it is maybe not as big as, say, a new big game, maybe not as big as, say, something that you're doing in data center, but people keep saying if people think that it is that important, they're going to miss the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Gaming is a much bigger business. Data center is a much bigger business. Our professional graphics is a much bigger business. And of course, in the future, everything that moves will be autonomous, will have autonomous capabilities, and that's going to be a much bigger market. And so cryptocurrency will be here. The ability for the world to have a very low friction, low cost way of exchanging value is going to be here for a long time. And blockchain is going to be here for a long time. And it's going to be a fundamental new form of computing. And so I expect blockchain, I expect cryptocurrency to be an important driver for GPUs, but the core market for our company are the four things that I mentioned.
All right, now I wish you, please stay with us, sir. We're going to have more with Jensen Huang, founder, president, and CEO of NVIDIA, including the topic of the moment, yes, autonomous driving. Stay with Kramer. I cannot overstate the importance of having great leadership. The market can roar on a day like today because our leaders came back with a vengeance, and Nvidia is one of the best examples of this. After spending a couple weeks in autonomous driving cryptocurrency purgatory, it shot up over 5% today, along with a bunch of other growth names that seemingly had lost their mojo, and the averages rocketed higher. This story is so important that for one of the few times in Mad Money's 13-year history, I want to go back to the well with a second segment of Jensen Huang, the great founder, president, and CEO of Nvidia. Hear more about how his company's doing and where it's headed. Jensen, let me ask you, we know that you have been paving the way for autonomous vehicles and that you have said transportation this week at your conference, $10 trillion market. But we recently had a fatality from an autonomous vehicle, and you have said you are taking a pause from what I understand is your 5-car fleet until you find out what happened. But at the same time, when your partners want to continue to order hardware for autonomous vehicles, you are going to give them everything they need. Is that the state of things?
Yeah, first of all, what happened, the fatal incident that happened this last week is really sad, and it's tragic, and we have to make sure that we learn from it. But the important thing is that NVIDIA's technology is an open platform. Uber developed their own sensing and driving applications and software. We want to make sure that we take a moment, wait until they do their investigation, and learn what we can learn from them. But their technology and our technology is completely different. We're developing our own sensing and our own driving applications, and we call that drive. They use our chips in theirs, but they develop their own driving applications. We're developing our own drive platform. Our drive platforms are used by OEMs and partners all over the world. We have some 370 partners around the world. Everybody knows that the reason why we want to do this is so that we can ensure that transportation is more safe. There aren't enough trucks to be able to carry all of the online shopping that's going on. There aren't enough cars in the world to be able to support the next billion people that comes online. We want to make the roads more safe. And so we're more determined than ever to make sure that autonomous vehicles work perfectly. Our commitment is to build the world's first functional safety computer for autonomous vehicle at the highest level of functional safety. We call that ISO 26262 or ASIL-D. Basically the same way airplanes are designed. We're going to turn these into autonomous vehicle computers, and over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to put them on the road. Our partners are running full steam ahead, and nobody is stopping. We now realize the importance of this work, of course, and we're going to continue to do it as carefully and as safely as we can.
Well, do they, your partners, or you have any updated thoughts on the Uber incident? Because I know that from your simulation, you're working with floods, you're working with blizzards. It seems like that you are doing a lot of things that perhaps the Uber incident, let's just say, may not have had a lot to do with what you're up to.
Yeah, they don't. Their driving technology and their sensing technology is completely different than ours, and they're doing that independently of their own. The thing that we're trying to do is we want to make sure that we create a great computer, but we also realize this, Jim. You know, the world travels about 10 trillion miles per year. That's 10 trillion miles. The best we could do, even if we had a whole bunch of cars on the road, is millions of miles over the course of several years. And so the only way to solve this problem is to create a virtual reality environment. And you know we know a lot about virtual reality. We're going to create a virtual reality environment where cars could learn how to drive to be great cars and fully safe cars in all of these thousands of parallel virtual reality worlds. And as a result, we're going to simulate billions and billions of miles in all of these tens of thousands of virtual reality environments. And so that's how we're going to be able to bridge the amount of driving that the world has, the amount of testing we can really do. The rest of it we're going to do in these virtual reality environment simulation. We call that Drive Constellation. I announced it this week, and the enthusiasm around Drive Constellation is just amazing. They're all supercomputers like this with driving applications that sits on top of it, and car companies can come and buy that from us and simulate billions and billions and billions of miles in virtual reality.
Now, Jensen, I tell people that that what you're doing with hardware and with software is going to make it so we detect early cancer, we detect early problems with heart. That we can do so much with health. People say to me, okay, well, wait a second, who is this guy Jensen Huang that you like so much? Where did he come from? Why has he still got the fire burning after 25 years? So I said, you know what, when I put him on the show, I'm going to ask him who the heck he is. Who are you?
Well, Jim, I'm the product of my parents' dreams and aspirations. This is just an amazing story. I guess some 45 years ago, my dad came to the United States for the very first time. I was 4 years old. He was probably in his early 30s. He came to the United States for the very first time in the late 60s. And he went to New York City, of all places. He was sent there by Courier, the air conditioning company, to train. He went home and he said that someday he's going to send his children to the United States. This is an amazing country, and he wants his children to grow up there. Well, at the pursuing years, my mom taught us English to prepare us for the United States. And as well, at the time, my mom didn't understand any English at all. Here's a person who knows nothing about English teaching her 2 children English. Every single day, she would pick a random 10 words from the dictionary and ask us to spell it and ask us to tell her the meaning. Now, she has no idea whether we said it right or not, but nonetheless, my father's dream, my mom's aspirations for our success is what ultimately put us here. And I owe them a great deal.
Well, like you say, it's just a great country or what? Jensen Huang, founder, president, and CEO of Nvidia, thank you so much for coming on Mad Money. I am most grateful that you're here.
Jim, it's great to be on the show with you.
Thank you. Wow. This stock goes higher. Sometimes I wish I worked there. Mad Money's back into the break.